After a few weeks in the neighborhood, Alex began to notice small changes. At first, everything seemed peaceful and calm. Most neighbors were polite and friendly. But slowly, Alex heard a few whispers here and there about the new electric car charger in the garage. It was mostly quiet talk among neighbors when they passed by. Nothing serious at first. One day, while walking home from work, Alex overheard a conversation between two neighbors near the mailbox. They spoke quietly, but clearly about the charger making some noise. One neighbor said, "It's just a little hum, really. I don't mind it at all." The other nodded, but added, "Yes, but Mrs. Wilson thinks it's louder than it is. She says it disturbs her." Alex felt a small worry grow inside. Alex had hoped that the charger would be accepted as a good part of the neighborhood. After all, it was clean energy and better for the environment. Alex thought that most people would be proud to have someone supporting a greener future. But it seemed that not everyone saw it that way. A few days later, Alex received a polite note slipped under the front door. It was from Mrs. Wilson. The note said that the noise from the charger was quite disturbing, and asked if Alex could please find a way to make it quieter. Alex read the note carefully and felt a mix of feelings. It was upsetting to hear that something so small caused worry. But Alex also wanted to be understanding and respectful of Mrs. Wilson's feelings. Alex decided to visit Mrs. Wilson to talk in person. The next afternoon, Alex knocked on her door. Mrs. Wilson opened it. She smiled, but looked tired. They sat together in her living room, where the walls were lined with family photos and soft curtains. Mrs. Wilson explained that she was used to very quiet days. She had lived in the neighborhood for many years and loved the peaceful sounds of birds and the wind. The small hum from the charger, she said, felt louder to her because it was different and constant when the car was charging. She was worried. It might get worse. Alex listened carefully and promised to do everything possible to reduce the noise. Mrs. Wilson seemed to appreciate the visit, but still looked a little worried. She asked if there were any ways to fix or lower the sound. Alex said that the technician had mentioned the charger's hum was normal, but Alex would check for any solutions. After leaving Mrs. Wilson's house, Alex searched online for answers. Many electric car owners shared their experiences. Some said their chargers made a quiet buzzing noise too, while others recommended special pads or covers to soften the sound. Alex also called the technician again to ask if anything could be done. The technician explained that the charger was working properly, but sometimes small adjustments could help. Feeling hopeful, Alex ordered a special rubber mat that could be placed under the charger. It was supposed to absorb sound and vibrations. When it arrived, Alex carefully placed it and waited to see if it made a difference. To Alex's surprise, the hum became even softer, almost unnoticeable. Alex then wrote a friendly note to Mrs. Wilson, explaining the steps taken and inviting her to visit the garage to hear the new sound. Mrs. Wilson accepted the invitation, and they met one afternoon. She listened closely and smiled. "Yes, it is much better now," she said kindly. Alex felt happy that the problem was getting smaller, however. Despite this progress, Mrs. Wilson's concern did not fully disappear. She continued to mention the charger noise to some other neighbors during community events. She said that the sound still bothered her during quiet evenings. Some neighbors began to feel that Mrs. Wilson was making a bigger issue than necessary. One neighbor, Mr. Johnson, spoke to Alex privately. He said, "Alex, I don't hear the charger much at all. I think Mrs. Wilson is just sensitive to noise. Maybe she needs some extra peace, but it's not the charger's fault." Alex understood but felt caught between trying to keep peace and respecting Mrs. Wilson's feelings. The Homeowners Association, HOA, soon received a few complaints about the charger noise. The HOA was a small group of neighbors who made rules and helped solve problems. They sent a letter to Alex asking for more information about the charger and the noise complaints. Alex responded quickly, explaining the charger's purpose, the small hum it made, and the efforts to reduce noise. The HOA arranged a meeting to discuss the issue. Many neighbors came, some curious and some concerned. Mrs. Wilson spoke clearly about how the noise affected her peace. Others, like Mr. Johnson, said they did not think it was a big problem. The meeting ended with a promise to find a fair solution that respected everyone's needs. Throughout this time, Alex tried to stay calm and patient. It was difficult to hear complaints about something that felt so harmless and helpful. Alex reminded himself that every person experienced the world differently, and what was quiet for one could be loud for another. Alex hoped that neighbors could understand this. Meanwhile, Alex continued to use the electric car and charger every day. Sometimes, when the car needed more power, the charger worked a little longer and made a faint buzzing noise. At other times, it charged quickly and quietly. Alex kept a notebook to track the times and sounds, hoping to prove that the noise was not constant or loud. One afternoon, a new family moved into the house next to Alex. They were young parents with 2 small children. Alex welcomed them warmly and showed them the electric car and charger. The new neighbors were excited and interested in learning about electric cars. They said they liked the quiet hum and thought it was a good thing for the neighborhood. Alex began to feel hopeful again. Some neighbors were open to change and interested in green technology. The future could be brighter and better if everyone worked together. Alex dreamed that someday the neighborhood might be known as a place where people cared for the earth and respected each other. But Mrs. Wilson's voice still echoed in the background. She was polite but firm in her belief that the noise needed to be stopped. Alex wondered if this would ever be possible or if the issue would grow bigger. At times, Alex felt tired but did not want to give up. One day, Alex received a phone call from the HOA president. She wanted to discuss the complaints and find a way to solve the problem before it became worse. Alex agreed to meet and bring all the information collected about the charger noise and the efforts made to reduce it. Before the meeting, Alex talked with a few friendly neighbors to understand their views better. Some said they were glad the issue was being taken seriously, while others hoped for a quick and peaceful end. Alex felt the pressure but also the support from many people who wanted peace and harmony. The meeting was calm but serious. Mrs. Wilson spoke with care and explained how the noise affected her daily life. Alex shared the facts, showed the notes, and explained the steps taken to reduce the sound. The HOA members listened carefully and promised to consider all points by the end. The HOA decided to look for more expert advice and possibly check the charger with sound equipment. They wanted to make sure the rules were fair and clear for everyone. Alex felt relieved that the situation was being handled with care and fairness. As days passed, Alex hoped that understanding and respect would grow in the neighborhood. It was not easy to change minds or feelings, but Alex believed that with patience, people could learn to live together peacefully. Alex also thought about Mrs. Wilson more kindly. Maybe she was lonely or worried about changes in the neighborhood. Alex hoped that one day Mrs. Wilson would see the charger not as a problem, but as a sign of a better future. The story of the charger. Noise was not just about sound, it was about neighbors learning to listen to each other, to understand different feelings, and to find ways to live together happily. Alex was ready to keep trying, knowing that good things often took time and care. The days passed, and the small problem with the electric car charger began to grow in the neighborhood. At first, it was only a quiet complaint from Mrs. Wilson. But soon, more neighbors started to notice the tension. Mrs. Wilson's frustration about the noise made her feel like she was not being heard. She believed the charger noise was more than just a small hum to her. It was a disturbance that affected her daily peace and comfort. Mrs. Wilson tried to talk to Alex a few more times, hoping that the noise would stop, or that Alex would understand how serious the problem was for her. However, Alex had already done everything possible to reduce the sound. Alex had placed a special mat under the charger, checked the technician's advice, and even offered to change the times the car charged to avoid late hours, but none of this seemed to fully satisfy Mrs. Wilson. One afternoon, after a quiet morning, Mrs. Wilson called a meeting with a few other neighbors who also shared her concerns. They talked about the noise and how it was affecting their lives. The meeting was small, but Mrs. Wilson's voice was strong and clear. She said, "We need to do something about this. It is disturbing our quiet neighborhood. The charger is noisy, and it should not be allowed to make so much sound here." The neighbors agreed to take this issue to the Homeowners Association HOA. The HOA was responsible for keeping peace and order in the community. It was also the place where neighbors could bring their complaints and find solutions together. Mrs. Wilson and her group believed that the HOA would help stop the charger noise at the same time. Alex felt nervous and worried. Alex wanted to be a good neighbor and did not want any problems with the HOA or other people. Alex had already made efforts to fix the noise and had explained the situation many times. But now it seemed like the problem was getting bigger. One day, Alex received an official letter from the HOA. It asked Alex to attend a meeting to discuss the complaints about the electric car charger. The letter was polite but firm. Alex read it carefully and began to prepare. Alex gathered all the information about the charger, the noise, the technician's advice, and the steps taken to reduce the sound. Alex also talked to some neighbors who supported the electric car. These neighbors said the charger noise was very small and not a problem. They believed that the neighborhood should accept new technology and help protect the environment. Their voices were calm but important. On the day of the HOA meeting, many neighbors came together in the small community room. The room was filled with chairs, and people sat quietly, waiting for the meeting to start. Alex felt a mix of emotions: hope, nervousness, and a wish for understanding. The meeting began with the HOA president speaking. She thanked everyone for coming and explained the purpose of the meeting to listen to all sides and find a fair solution. Then Mrs. Wilson stood up. She spoke clearly and carefully, explaining how the charger noise disturbed her peace. She said it was a constant hum that made it hard for her to relax, especially in the evenings. Next, Alex was asked to speak. Alex explained how the electric car worked and how the charger made only a small hum, similar to a quiet refrigerator. Alex shared the information from the technician and described the steps taken to reduce the noise. Alex also showed notes tracking the times and sounds of the charger, proving it was not loud or constant. Some neighbors nodded, while others looked thoughtful. Then a few people shared their opinions. One neighbor said, "I barely hear the charger, and I think it is a small price to pay for cleaner air." Another said, "We should find a way to live together peacefully, even if we have small differences." However, Mrs. Wilson and her group remained firm. They wanted clear rules about noise levels and times when the charger could be used. They asked the HOA to take action to protect the quiet of the neighborhood. After everyone spoke, the HOA president thanked them and said the board would discuss the issue carefully. She promised to look for expert advice and find a solution that was fair for all neighbors. As the meeting ended, some neighbors approached Alex. They offered support and said they appreciated the calm way Alex handled the situation. Alex felt a little better, but also knew the challenge was not over. The next day, Alex heard that Mrs. Wilson had called the local police. She said the charger noise was a disturbance that needed their attention. Alex was surprised and worried. Calling the police seemed like a big step over a small noise. When the police officers arrived at the house, Alex greeted them politely. The officers listened to both sides. Alex explained the situation and showed them the charger. The officers checked the sound and said it was very low. It's not a noise that required police action. Mrs. Wilson thanked the officers, but said she still felt disturbed by the sound. The officers suggested that the HOA was the right place to solve the problem. They left, and Alex was left feeling mixed relieved, but unsure what would happen next. Word about the police visit spread quickly through the neighborhood. Some neighbors felt it was an overreaction, while others understood Mrs. Wilson's desire for quiet. The community became divided between those who supported Alex and the electric car and those who supported Mrs. Wilson's wishes. Alex tried to stay calm and keep working on ways to reduce the noise. Alex also reached out to the HOA again and asked if any new decisions had been made. HOA said they were still gathering information and listening to neighbors. Meanwhile, Alex began to think about how to bring neighbors together. Alex organized a small community gathering at the park. It was a chance for people to talk, share ideas, and get to know each other better. Alex hoped that by talking openly, neighbors could understand each other's views and find common ground at the gathering. Some neighbors asked questions about electric cars and chargers. Alex explained how they worked and how important they were for a cleaner future. Others shared their love for the quiet neighborhood and the need to protect it. The talk was friendly and honest. Mrs. Wilson came to the gathering too. She listened, quietly, but did not say much. Alex hoped that, by being kind and patient, Mrs. Wilson might feel more comfortable and open to understanding. The problem with the charger noise was still there, but so was hope. The neighborhood was learning about new technology and new ways to live. Some people were afraid of change, while others welcomed it. Alex believed that, with time, kindness, and respect, the community could find peace. As the sun set that evening, Alex looked at the quiet street. The electric car charger hummed softly in the garage, a gentle reminder of progress and challenge. Alex took a deep breath and smiled, ready to keep trying for a better tomorrow. After the community gathering, Alex hoped the neighbors would begin to understand each other better. The gathering had brought some smiles and friendly conversations. People shared stories and ideas, and many were curious about the electric car and how it helped the environment. It seemed like a small step toward peace. But the issue with Mrs. Wilson's concern about the charger noise was still there. The Homeowners Association, HOA, knew it was a problem that needed careful attention. They wanted to make sure everyone's voice was heard and that any solution would be fair to all neighbors. The HOA decided to invite an expert to the neighborhood to check the noise levels. This expert was someone who understood sounds and how they affected people. The expert used special equipment to measure the noise coming from Alex's electric car charger. The neighbors watched with interest as the expert tested the sound at different times of the day and night. After a few days of testing, the expert gave a clear report. The noise from the charger was very low, almost like a quiet whisper. It was much softer than everyday sounds, like a running refrigerator or a gentle fan. The expert explained that the charger's hum was normal and not harmful. This news was good for Alex, but still did not fully satisfy. Mrs. Wilson, she said she understood the noise was quiet, but that it still disturbed her because it was constant. When the car was charging, she said sometimes even small sounds could feel bigger when a person was used to silence. The HOA called a community meeting to discuss the expert's report. The meeting was held in the community hall, and many neighbors came to listen and talk. The HOA president spoke first, sharing the expert's findings and thanking everyone for being patient. Then it was Mrs. Wilson's turn. She spoke kindly, but firmly about how the noise made her feel. She said it was not just about the sound, but also about feeling peaceful in her own home. Some neighbors nodded, understanding that peace was important to everyone. Alex then explained how the charger worked, that it was an important part of using clean energy. Alex said, "I want to live peacefully here, and I also want to help the planet by using this charger. I have done all I can to make the noise quieter, and I am open to more ideas." Some neighbors suggested ways to help both sides. One idea was to set quiet hours when charging would be limited, such as late at night. Another idea was to place soundproof materials around the charger to reduce noise even more. The HOA agreed to explore these options. They said they wanted to create rules that respected everyone's peace and comfort while allowing new technology to grow in the neighborhood. Over the next few weeks, Alex worked with the HOA to try new ways to reduce the charger noise. Alex placed soft panels around the charger and changed the charging schedule to avoid late-night hours. Alex also kept neighbors informed and asked for their feedback. Slowly, the tension began to ease. Mrs. Wilson noticed the changes and said the noise felt less disturbing. She still wished for complete silence, but appreciated the effort and kindness Alex showed. Other neighbors also shared positive thoughts. Some said they liked seeing the neighborhood come together to solve a problem peacefully. Others said they learned a lot about electric cars and wanted to try them someday. Alex felt happy, but also knew this was just the beginning of a new chapter. The neighborhood was changing, and so were the people, us. Some were ready to accept new ideas, and others needed time to adjust. One day, the HOA invited Alex and Mrs. Wilson to speak at a local community event about the experience. They shared their story of disagreement and understanding. Mrs. Wilson said, "At first I was worried about the noise and change, but now I see that kindness and patience helped us find peace." Alex added, This experience taught me that listening to each other is the key to living happily together." The audience clapped, and many came to talk afterward. Some thanked Alex for caring about the neighborhood and the environment. Others thanked Mrs. Wilson for speaking honestly about her feelings. Back in the neighborhood, Alex and Mrs. Wilson even started to talk more often. They shared tea and stories about their lives. Mrs. Wilson took questions about the electric car and said she was curious to learn more. Alex offered to take her for a short ride in the car one day. The day Mrs. Wilson rode in the electric car was special. She smiled as the car moved quietly and smoothly down the street. She said, "It is much nicer than I thought." Alex was happy to see her enjoying the ride and feeling more connected. Life in the neighborhood became calmer and friendlier. The charger hum was no longer a problem, but a small part of daily life. Neighbors greeted each other with smiles and talked about gardening, technology, and shared hopes for the future. Alex continued to use the electric car with pride. It was more than just transportation. It was a symbol of care for the earth and the community. Alex hoped that others would see the benefits of green living and join in making the world better. The story of the noisy charger had become a story of understanding and friendship. It showed that even small problems could be solved with respect, kindness, and patience. Alex knew that this lesson was important not just for the neighborhood but for life everywhere. As the sun set each evening, the gentle hum of the charger was a reminder that change could be good, and that people could come together to make peace, even when they did not always agree. Time passed in the neighborhood, and life slowly found a new rhythm. The small electric car charger that had once caused worry was now part of everyday life. Alex and Mrs. Wilson, who had once seen the charger very differently, had begun to understand each other in new ways. This change did not happen quickly or easily, but with patience and kindness. It grew step by step. Alex noticed that the neighborhood was becoming a place where people talked more openly and listened more carefully. The challenges with the charger had helped neighbors to learn how to respect different feelings and ideas. It was not just about a machine making a quiet sound anymore. It was about learning to live together peacefully, even when there were small disagreements. Mrs. Wilson, who once worried a lot about the noise, had changed too. She had started to see the benefits of the electric car and the charger. She often asked Alex questions about how the car worked and how it helped the earth. Sometimes, she even smiled when she saw the car parked in the garage. The quiet hum of the charger was no longer a bother, but a small sign of progress. One afternoon, Alex invited Mrs. Wilson to join a small neighborhood group focused on learning about green living. The group met every few weeks to share ideas about saving energy, planting trees, and using less plastic. Mrs. Wilson enjoyed these meetings and liked hearing stories about new ways to help the planet. She found that being part of the group made her feel connected and happy. The neighborhood began to change in small but important ways. Some families started to plant more flowers and trees in their yards. Others looked into buying electric cars or bikes. The children learned about clean energy at school and talked about how they wanted to help the earth when they grew up. Alex felt proud to be part of this growing community. With time, the Homeowners Association created clear and fair rules about noise and charging times. These rules made sure that everyone could live comfortably while supporting new technology. The rules helped neighbors feel safe and respected. The HOA also started inviting experts to talk about ways to make the neighborhood greener and healthier. Alex continued to be a quiet leader in the community, sharing knowledge about electric cars and encouraging neighbors to try new ideas. Alex's efforts showed that one person's actions could inspire others. People began to see that small changes made a big difference when everyone worked together. Mrs. Wilson and Alex's friendship grew stronger. They shared stories about their past, their hopes, and their dreams. Mrs. Wilson told Alex about her youth, the changes she had seen in the world, and the lessons she had learned about patience and kindness. Alex listened carefully and felt grateful for the wisdom Mrs. Wilson shared. One sunny morning, Alex and Mrs. Wilson walked through the neighborhood park, watching children play and families enjoy the day. Mrs. Wilson said, I never thought I would enjoy living near an electric car charger. But now, I see it as part of the future, something good for our world." Alex smiled and said, "Thank you for being patient and open to understanding. It means a lot to me and to the neighborhood." Mrs. Wilson replied, "Thank you for listening and caring. We all have a part to play in making this neighborhood a better place." The story of the electric car charger was now a story of community, respect, and hope. It showed how people could overcome worries and differences through kindness and patience. The neighbors learned that change might be hard, but it could bring good things if everyone worked together. As the seasons changed, the neighborhood continued to grow and improve. The air felt cleaner, the streets were friendlier, and people smiled more often. Alex's charger hummed softly each evening, a gentle reminder of how far they had come. Alex looked forward to many more years in the neighborhood, excited to see new ideas and friendships grow. The quiet hum of the charger was no longer just a sound, but a symbol of progress and peace. The lessons learned were clear: understanding others, respecting feelings, and working together could solve even the toughest problems. Alex believed these lessons would help not just the neighborhood but communities everywhere, and so life in the neighborhood went on, peaceful, hopeful, full of kindness, with an electric car charger quietly humming in the background, reminding everyone that sometimes small sounds carry the greatest meaning. Alex was very excited. After saving money for many months, Alex finally bought a new electric car. It was shiny and clean, and Alex loved the idea of driving a car that did not need gas. Instead of going to a gas station, the car could be charged. At home, this was better for the environment, and Alex wanted to help take care of the planet. Alex had recently moved to a new neighborhood. It was a small, quiet place with green trees and neat houses. The streets were clean and calm, and most people who lived there seemed friendly. Alex hoped to feel happy living there. Moving to a new place was always a little scary, but Alex wanted to meet new neighbors and make good friends. When Alex first looked for a house, one of the most important things was a garage. This was because the electric car needed a charger. At home, the charger was a special box that connected to the car and gave it power. Alex knew that charging the car at home would be easy and cheaper than going to public chargers all the time. After a few weeks of searching, Alex found a perfect small house with a garage close to the street. The first day in the new house was busy and full of hope. Alex unpacked boxes, cleaned the rooms, and started to arrange everything nicely. Then came the time to install the electric car charger. Alex called a technician who came quickly and fixed the charger in the garage wall. The technician said it would take a few hours to be ready. Alex watched carefully as the wires were connected and the charger was tested. Soon, Alex plugged the new car in for the first time at home. The charger made a small sound, a gentle hum that filled the quiet garage. Alex thought it was not loud at all. It was a sound that meant the car was getting energy to drive again. Watching the lights on the charger glow softly gave Alex a feeling of happiness and accomplishment. It was the start of a new chapter in life. During the first few days, Alex enjoyed the quiet neighborhood. People were walking their dogs, chatting on the sidewalks, and watering flowers in their gardens. The air smelled fresh, and birds sang from the trees early in the morning. Alex often took short walks after work to get some fresh air and see the neighbors. Most of the neighbors smiled and said hello. Few stopped to ask about the new car and the charger. Alex happily explained that the car was electric and did not make smoke like old cars. One morning, while watering plants outside the house, Alex met Mrs. Wilson for the first time. She was an older woman who lived 2 houses down. Mrs. Wilson was friendly but spoke in a clear, serious voice. She asked many questions about the electric car, the charger, and if it made any noise. Alex answered politely and showed her how the charger worked. Mrs. Wilson nodded slowly, but looked a little worried. Over the next few days, Alex noticed that Mrs. Wilson often stood outside watching the garage. She seemed to pay close attention. When the car was charging, Alex did not understand why she was so interested, but thought maybe she just liked new things. Other neighbors seemed less concerned, sometimes waving or smiling, but not saying much about the charger. One afternoon, Alex was charging the car and heard a soft buzzing sound from the charger. It was quiet, but it was there. Alex thought it was normal. The technician had said the charger might make a small noise while working. It was not too loud, just like a refrigerator humming in the kitchen. Alex was happy with the sound because it meant the car was charging well. That evening, Alex invited a few neighbors for a small welcome party. It was a chance to get to know each other better. People brought snacks and drinks. Everyone enjoyed the food and friendly talk. Alex showed the electric car and the charger to the group. Many neighbors were curious and asked questions. Some said they might consider buying electric cars in the future. The party was a success, and Alex felt more connected to the neighborhood. But a few days after the party, things began to change. Mrs. Wilson started to complain quietly to other neighbors that the charger made too much noise. She said it disturbed her peace and quiet. Alex was surprised because the sound was very soft and only happened when the car was charging. Most neighbors did not notice any problem and thought Mrs. Wilson was a little too sensitive. Alex tried to be careful not to disturb anyone. The car was usually charged during the daytime or early evening, never late at night. Alex thought this was fair. But Mrs. Wilson's complaints grew louder. She mentioned the noise at neighborhood meetings and sent letters to the homeowners association. Alex did not understand why the noise was such a big problem. Still, Alex kept being polite and respectful. Alex wrote a note to Mrs. Wilson to explain that the charger noise was normal and asked if they could talk to find a solution. Mrs. Wilson replied that she wanted the noise to stop completely because it made her uncomfortable. Alex felt sad but hoped that with time, Mrs. Wilson would understand. Alex continued living life in the neighborhood and tried to keep everything peaceful. Charging the electric car was important, and Alex did not want to cause trouble. At the same time, Alex wanted to show others that electric cars were good for the environment and could be part of a happy neighborhood. As the days passed, Alex met more neighbors who were kind and helpful. One neighbor shared tips about gardening, another recommended a good local store, and a few asked if Alex could help with technology questions. Alex felt welcomed by many people, except for Mrs. Wilson, who stayed distant and quiet. Alex also started learning more about the electric car and the charger. Sometimes, the car needed more power, and the charger worked longer. At other times, it was quick to charge and made very little sound. Alex checked online forums and talked to the technician to understand how to reduce the noise even more. Alex wanted to be a good neighbor and do everything possible to keep the peace. One evening, Alex noticed that a few neighbors left notes on the community board supporting electric cars and new technology. Some wrote that small changes were good and helped the world become cleaner. Others said they wanted to learn more about electric cars. Alex smiled when reading those notes and felt hopeful about the future. The neighborhood was changing slowly. People were learning about new ways to live and care for the earth. Alex wanted to be part of that change, even if it meant facing a few challenges. The electric car charger was a small thing, but it symbolized something bigger: hope for a better tomorrow. Alex believed that with kindness and patience, any problem could be solved. The story of moving to a new house, installing the charger, and meeting neighbors was just the beginning of a journey filled with surprises, lessons, and friendships. Alex looked forward to what came next with a calm heart and a positive mind.